Welcome to the Masters in Motion podcast, where we empower Masters athletes to reach their full potential. Join us as we delve into the world of CrossFit and showcase the strength, resilience, and determination of Masters athletes, because we love this sport. I'm Jason Grubb with Rick Stevenson. This is episode 21. Hey, Rick, how was Father's Day for you?
Father's Day was excellent.
Good.
Real nice time. How about for you?
So good. So good to be back in Colorado to see all of my kids. I've got older kids here in Colorado. My younger kids travel with us. So to be back in Colorado and get to see them all together was a huge treat. I mean, just really, really cool. So my oldest son graduated last week from the police academy. So he is as of tomorrow, he had the weekend off. As tomorrow, he will be officially on the streets. Actually, they do training and they still do some stuff as they work into it. But yeah, here we go. Welcome to adulthood. And for me, now I'm a nervous father. Here we go.
Absolutely.
You know?
Oh, yeah. No.
Yeah.
Well, we thank him for serving the public. Absolutely.
Seriously. He's a good kid.
And for listeners, I think this could be the third week in a row if we played the game Where is Jason before we start. You might have to. So not to disappoint anybody, but you'll be staying in your location now for a few weeks, right? So
yeah, finally. Oh, man.
Stop playing pins on the map for everybody that's listening. He's here.
Yes, I'm here. Yeah. Here in Colorado, 5 full weeks.
I take it.
And now the benefit of being in Colorado for these 5 weeks, as opposed, I was in Dallas 2 weeks ago, Amarillo last week, Colorado now. I'll be at 7,000 feet of altitude for the next 5 weeks. And I got to tell you, I am not acclimated as I was to this altitude. The last few days of training have helped me realize or remember what it's like to suffer in low oxygen environments, because that's where I'm at. I'm suffering right now, but it's good training.
The rest of the men's 45 to 49 field just did a big old exhale, thinking, oh boy, here we go. 5 weeks. He's got to get his lungs back. All over again, and then get back to sea level again, and hopefully have that. I don't know, a couple. I don't know third lung.
Yeah, a little third lung. That'll be fine. A little, making sure I'm getting beta alanine in every day, and altitude training. I mean, the third lung should be fully developed, ideally.
We only cross over once every 5 years, so you just stay where you're at. That's all I got. Yeah,
that's
fine. I got plenty more years. Face this again. I don't need to worry about that.
Well, Rick, we had two really kind of semi-big last-minute news items that popped up on a relatively quiet week. All of a sudden, as of yesterday and today, we have some news. What do you got for us?
Well, we were scratching our heads going, it will be a quiet week to talk, come up with a couple ideas and shoot the breeze. But the first one was we'll save the HQ news for a second, but the Wodapalooza post about the reduced field sizes for the age group athletes. And I think you've got it pulled up. I'll pull mine up right here now from the post. But 35 through 49, it appears that get 10 spots, men, and 10 spots for women. And then the upper age groups, 50 to 60 plus, get 5 spots. Extremely small fields. Now, typical of these types of teasing news releases, there's no detail behind it. What happens? Does defending champ qualify? Does the games champ get an invite? Are there only 3 spots open per qualifier for our age groups? Do you only have 8? There's a million questions out there. What's going on, Wodapalooza?
Yeah, we were talking before we jumped on or hit the record button. So obviously a change like this is probably here because they've added additional divisions for teams, including a Masters category, which is the first time there's been a team competition for the Masters at Wodapalooza, which is really welcome news because team events are just so fun. And we were thinking, well, what they always have to do is manage resources, manage time, manage space and equipment.
Yep.
So
competition space.
Let's say they have 10 to 20 Masters teams. Let's say 20. That's 60 entries that they collect right there from those
60 males and 60 females.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. 60 males, 60 females. That's a lot of cash. I mean, in a good way, they are, so it's a lot of cash, and they can run teams of 3 in a venue or in a lane or 10 lanes, 20 lanes, whatever, very efficiently. It's almost as if if you can get 3 people in a lane as opposed to 1 person in a lane, optimizing the amount of time and activities
Hmm.
that can happen at Wodapalooza. So as the compromise, they've got to pull back on the amount of people in the Masters individual categories to make space for the teams. So, it's understandable because you and I have been to Wodapalooza. We've seen
Hmm.
that there is event after event after event on all three stages at all times. It is a logistical miracle that they're able to pull that off. It's a
Correct.
really generally well, especially this last year, it was really, really well run, very organized, very smooth. But at the same time, I thought when they
It's
added teams, I was like, how are they going to do this? Where are they going to squeeze them in? I don't know.
Well, they're
Now we
taking them
know.
from looks like from the age groups, but I will just speak up for the 50 and over. Five
Yes.
is ridiculously small. It doesn't allow for separation. And you know what? The first thing I saw that it just struck me less as a competition and more as an exhibition. Like,
Hmm.
hey, these five athletes for men and these five athletes for women. They qualified. They're here. They're participating. They're having a good time. But it's hard to have a competition that where a leaderboard could shake up in a meaningful way when you have 20 points separating
Right.
each placement or go something like that. I mean,
Yeah.
five is really small. And I think you and I are both fans on the competitive side. You and I are both fans of the bigger field,
Yes.
just naturally.
Yeah, I mean, if we can find somewhere where we're like, in that 10 to 15 at the bare minimum. I mean, last year at
Mhm.
Wodapalooza, I think
Right.
we had 20 per. Did you have 20 in your age groups last year?
No, no. So we
Kristen.
actually 15. I think we had 15.
Okay. So I mean 15 is a very fair amount. I think we had 20 maybe last year in our division. And the thing I like about having those larger divisions is that it allows for athletes to get to know each other. Like I love being there in
Right.
that space and being able to meet athletes from Italy and athletes from Mexico or Brazil or Costa Rica. I mean they came from everywhere because there's 20 spots and it allows for that. And Miami is an easy place to get to from anywhere in the world, I think. I don't know. I think it feels
Right.
like it.
Well, certainly from South America, sure.
Certainly for
And
South
I think you
America.
see, I think you see that
Yeah.
the South American athletes a little bit more represented than
Yeah.
some of the other competitions in the United States. Honestly,
Yeah. So I mean, it's a big compromise. If they could add one more stage, out there, it would add
hmm
25% more capacity because they have Tina Hill, Seaside, I think it's what it's called, and or Bayside, and whatever,
Flagler.
and Flagler, the main stage.
Yep.
And again,
Yep.
those are all really great venues. I'll tell you the criticism I have every year going out there, and I think anybody who's been to Wodapalooza struggles with this, is that if you actually want to watch an event, there's just not a lot of bleacher space. Now, for
Correct.
Masters
Yep.
events, there's plenty of bleacher space because they, each division will have its own set of fans that come in and out. There's a lot of movement. But to watch any of the elite teams or individual events, you've got to be there like 5 hours early to secure a seat. And God forbid you have to use the restroom because if you leave, you might not be able to get back in.
Correct. I remember getting
It's,
shut out and not
yeah,
even being able to enter the bleachers.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And when
Yeah.
you and I were there, when we were competing in 2021, we shared an Airbnb. We had a really nice time. We would compete all day, and then at night we'd cook up our burgers or our chicken or whatever, and we'd turn on the live stream and catch up on all the events from the day. And we just participated in town, but via a computer screen, unfortunately. But
Right.
you
Yeah.
know,
And
we were
frankly,
comfortable.
you didn't have a bad seat. The
That's
the
correct.
coverage made it very accessible.
Yeah.
But I'll still circle back to it's Miami in the winter, and yes, especially speaking from somebody in Northeast Ohio. Hey, what better way to get out of the dreary gray cold than to go down south? But if you're going to spend the money and you're looking for that higher level competition, the opportunities that you have for Masters Fitness Championship and Legends afford you bigger fields, team options, and very legitimately programmed competitions where it's
Yeah.
not now just five for our age group. So
Yeah.
I'll circle back to those. I'm telling you.
Agreed, agreed. And the Masters only championships like Legends and the Masters Fitness Collective, those are also such well run and well programmed specifically for Masters and really highlight Masters athletes. We're not a sideshow. We're not it doesn't feel like, I don't know if this is going to come out right, but it doesn't feel like they're just collecting our entry fee and
No,
allowing us,
that's fair.
they're spotlighting us. it's well run, well
Correct.
done every time. So yeah, I
But
really like, and I
the flip side you get is, yes, you're paying your entry fee down in Miami and you compete, but oh, by the way, I could bump into some of those elite athletes and go watch them.
true.
Whereas in the Masters only, we don't have that. But then you have to ask yourself, well, what are you there for? Are you there to compete, or are you there as a spectator? I mean,
Yeah.
go be a
Yeah.
spectator down in Miami and go compete. Go compete elsewhere.
And I'll agree with you. I mean, being in Miami in the sun in December or January, I mean, that's not bad. It's not terrible.
No, not
I've
at
been in
all.
worse places. So,
Oh yeah,
well,
come up, stay with me next time.
no thanks. That's the news there.
I didn't think so. Yeah.
Tell us about the news from HQ. It's a big one.
Well, this is a big one. Justin Berg. Today we learned via a number of different media outlets. The general manager of sport is leaving CrossFit, and so what are we? We are 5 weeks, 6 weeks, 6 weeks away
I think
from
so.
the games.
Yep.
And to the casual fan, something you might know the name, you might know the face, but he is obviously was for 13 years very integrated into what happened in Madison and the message, tying together the sport, the methodology, selling it to the public. We just don't know. Expect to hear the same thing from you. There's just no details released. Dave Castro will be assuming or leading the sport team. Again, that's a pretty vague statement. How will he be involved? What else is he going to be doing with his role and function in with training staff, and that he has come back to assume that role. So right now, your thoughts too. There's just too many unanswered questions.
A lot of unanswered questions, and the timing is so peculiar. It's to have if the games are 6 weeks out, things are pretty much settled in, right? The
Mm-hmm.
timelines are in their finalizations, to athlete testing or workout testing, all of those things, everything is in progress. There's not a lot of last minute changes I would imagine would be happening at this point. But it sort of feels like if the leadership of CrossFit was going to make a dramatic change, it just makes sense that they just do that after the games. Like, it feels so
Right.
abrupt. No notice, no warning, no transition plan, nothing that says, hey, Justin Berg, this will be his final year. He has served the community for this long. Instead, this is the news outlet. It's Justin Berg out immediately. Dave Castro
Mm-hmm.
taking over
Yeah.
immediately. Like, it feels so abrupt. And Justin Berg, again, he's a vanilla guy. He's not an extreme guy. It doesn't feel like there's anything controversial about him.
Right.
That we know of. I mean, maybe there's something behind the scenes, but it just seems like he's like the consistent guy, like very mellow, very level-headed, probably plans everything years in advance. It feels like he's that kind of guy.
Right. Correct.
And so it's peculiar. The timing is peculiar. The abruptness feels peculiar. We can only speculate as to what's actually going on behind the scenes. And I guess that's one of the things that is always a frustration with CrossFit, like when Castro was let go. I mean, it was a shock to the system. People had lots of
Mm-hmm.
opinions about it, but there was very little information that came from HQ about a significant figure that we've seen for Dave Castro at the time. The entire existence of CrossFit, we've known him.
Yep.
Justin Berg.
Right.
As far as the CrossFit Games have happened, we've known this guy. And
Right.
yeah, I mean,
They
as fans of the
they,
sport, we always want to know the backstory, I think.
Well, they said he'd been with them for 13 years, and I think there's a couple ways to look at. You and I have talked a lot in some of our previous episodes about some of the hiccups maybe that this season has dealt with. Just little things that seem to add up. I think one of the bigger issues of late was the Alexander Caron being pulled from the competition
Right.
for not, there was no minimum work requirement, but for what forgot how they deemed that not putting forth effort in
Yeah.
event test two, and then the whole lane 8 issue with the assault runners. And I know Justin was interviewed a number of times about how they either were testing the equipment or the ways they used to calibrate the runners, things like that. Okay, now we see that because of the way those issues might have been played up in the media or in the social media space. But how much of this, though? Remember, the CEO of CrossFit did address changes and conduct a round of layoffs back in April, away from the games side of the sport, from the company, more on the affiliate teams, the affiliate side, and some of the other departments. Could this just be another iteration of now turning his attention over to the games? But the only reason I might not have so much confidence in that idea is because of the timing. Again, we see it in other sports where there are head coaches that are let go mid-season. Not trying to compare Justin to a head coach, but the assistants take over, they finish out the season, and the team conducts a round of interviews, and a new head coach is hired for the following season. Some of that. We love it because it's speculation on our point, but we're dying for more information. We're dying from a press release from CrossFit. Hey, tell us more. We'd love to know more. I will add the one thing I did hear on your friend's Talking Elite Fitness podcast that they just released. They had just done an interview with Justin Berg. Wow. Didn't even have a chance to release it. How about that? For timing. So they're one point, and this gave me flashbacks to 2019, and I sure hope this is not the case. But when they were talking about media and event or streaming, I think is how Sean Woodland phrased it. He talked about airing the events for the individuals and the teams, but he stopped short and didn't say anything else. And Sean's like, well, what does that mean? And I'm just thinking flashback to 2019. Don't exclude the age groups, please, from any type of broadcast.
Right.
Whatever you do.
That was really brutal.
You're going to hurt yourself in the long run, CrossFit. I'm pretty sure. Please don't do that. There are a lot of people that watch. I would believe.
Yep.
I know it's not as much as watching Justin Medeiros battle Roman Krennikov down the last event, but people care about the age groups.
They really do. And with this year, you've got some big names moving into the 35-year-old age group that people want to see. They want to see Sam Dancer go up against, Scott Panchik. And, and these are just two names in that group. Elijah Muhammad, get to see that guy out there again. There's a big fun names, multiple time games athletes that are in that 35-year-old age group that will be very entertaining. And I want to stay humble, but at the same time, I know people that are traveling to Madison, fans that are traveling there to watch the 45-year-old age group, to watch me, and a lot of them want to watch online. I've got a very decent following there that want to see that. And so, again, the entire spectrum, the families, the friends, the gyms, the boxes, the communities, the support, all games athletes, especially masters athletes, they want to see this stuff. They want to see it from their home gym, from their home space. And we just have to remind ourselves and remind CrossFit that the people that pay the bills at the gyms that pay the affiliate fee are primarily masters athletes. And
correct. They
love seeing their own kind featured and highlighted, whether they're 35, 40, 45, 65, 52, wherever they're at on the spectrum.
Yep.
They all have fans, and they want to see them. And I think the teams over the past couple of years have done a great job. They do their homework. They know the athletes. They tell a good story. They're covering heat after heat after heat. And every heat, they've got a little bit of a storyline that they are able to draw from. Grundler does a good job, and the other guys that are part of that broadcast, they do a great job broadcasting. And man, if they don't broadcast this year, that would be highly frustrating. So
absolutely. I don't want to jump to, it's what I heard.
Yep.
And we'll see how it all plays out. Again, the best part of this is although newsworthy and noteworthy, there are 6 weeks to go. So
and zero details.
There's a long time ahead of us for a lot of answers. Questions to be answered.
Well, let's jump on over to our topic for the day, which it was just something that I know that I get a lot of questions around this, and I know that fans of the show, the Masters of Motion podcast, have questions around this because it's very common in the CrossFit space. And the question is not necessarily about being in the gym. It's about what happens outside of the gym with regards to nutrition. And so the question that I posed to you earlier and that I think that we should work on today is what nutrition changes have made the biggest impact in your fitness or in your CrossFit journey? You and I have both had different stories, but I think we've both had experiences where a nutrition change has made an impact. So I thought it would be fun to just talk through some of those topics.
Yeah,
so
go back and forth a little.
Yeah. I'm gonna fire it off to you to kick off. What is what is a nutrition change that what is one nutrition change? I know you've got a few, but what's
Okay,
one
yeah, I
to
was going to
start
say,
with?
so we can go back and forth
Yes.
with this. I'll start out with saying that prior to CrossFit, I didn't focus entirely on maybe what I was eating. I mean, the easiest way to say that. I wasn't very concerned, fortunate, hey, 3 meals a day, some snacks in there. Ate what was kind of in front of you. Again, I don't have health issues in that I had to avoid certain foods or anything like that. So, everybody's story is different there. But I'll say I really didn't pay much attention to what I was eating beforehand.
Yep.
The flip side of that is the attention to detail.
Mm.
How about for you?
Yeah, for me, when I started CrossFit, I didn't make any dramatic changes to my eating. I was eating and I was drinking a couple of beers every night, and I was under eating. I mean, that was one thing that was happening, and I was busy enough in my life that I was under eating. So in my first year, I did experience a change in my physique because I was now being quite active and under eating. But the biggest change really between 2017 2018, and I have a number of changes along the way, but this was the first big change I made, and it was to actually take all grain, any form of grain, out of my diet. I'm the kind of person that kind of goes all in on things, and I had read the book Wheat Belly by, I think it's Dr. William Davis. So really great book. And if you just need a synopsis of it, just ask ChatGPT for a summary or find a PDF summary of the book. That's going to give you the details. But essentially, what he argues is that all of our current grains are the primary cause of inflammation, bloating, gas, digestive issues, all kinds of harms to our body, or our bodies just generally don't respond well. And I was like, well, yeah, okay, I'm convinced. Let me just try this absolute no grain situation. So I think I finished the book on a Sunday. On a Monday, I went with no beer, no bread, no pasta, no rice, no grains in any way whatsoever, no oats, no oatmeal, nothing. So my
Oh,
meals,
you're killing me.
all of it was gone.
Oh no.
I started eating sweet potatoes like they're going out of business, and
Hmm.
I could barely eat a sweet potato now. I ate so many back then. And I saw a dramatic reduction in my body fat percentage. I had an in-body scanner at my gym. I owned a CrossFit gym at the time, and so I was testing that. And once a week, I would do a test. My body fat percentage was dropping precipitously. Now, what I didn't do when I removed all that grain, I didn't replace it with enough carbohydrates. But so I really leaned out, and that was late 2017, early 2018, I ended up qualifying for the CrossFit Games, and I'm going to pause there because that's when I made another dramatic change.
Okay.
But the first dramatic change
Okay.
was no grain, and that was. I mean, I will say I dropped body fat percentage, bloating, gas, overall, I felt so much better. And I was like, okay, so for me, no grain was the way to go.
Well, see, this is the beautiful part of this topic is because you're going to find how different it is for everybody. Everybody's going to find a solution that works for them.
Right.
And you can have somebody that adopts no grains like you and see improved body composition and better feeling, better performance, things like that. Yet somebody who still has grains in their diet is able to have sufficient energy levels and maintain a weight that allows you to move your body in the way that you would like to for in terms of speed and strength, things like that. My big change after that was, okay, I got a little bit more focused on the right types of proteins that worked for me. Again, this might be different even for you. I eat probably more chicken than anything else. I don't mind red meat. I'll eat certainly a lot of porks, fish, but chicken primarily is, if I need to fill protein quotas up, that's my protein of choice. And so I really started to mix that, even to a degree of being boring, into certainly my nightly meal, sometimes lunch and dinner. I cared about that, so I would mix the clean protein in with a lot of vegetables. And here's another where tell me how you feel about vegetables.
Yeah, the food that I eats all the vegetables I need. That's my take on
Yeah,
vegetables.
see, and you know me. There's not a good salad that I've never met. I probably said that wrong. I love salad.
Yes, you do.
Um,
I've seen it firsthand.
I, my family knows it. My friends know it. The guys at work know it. They call it bird food, but that's okay. I love vegetables. I love all forms of vegetables, and so I incorporate a lot of that into my diet and always have. So for me to make that change wasn't that dramatic. It was okay. Let's figure out the proteins and let's mix in keep mixing in the vegetables. I don't care what they are. I'll eat them.
Yeah, and so that'll bring me to so when I stopped eating grain, I did eat a lot of vegetables at the time because I needed something for sustenance. I was eating a lot of
Right.
fruit. I was eating a lot of sweet potatoes and regular potatoes for carbohydrates. But when I qualified for the games in 2018, I believe I had about 3 months of training prior to the games after the age group qualifiers at that time, and I just did a quick assessment. I finally counted my macros for the first time, paid attention to my calories for about a week, and realized that I was dramatically under eating for the amount of activity that I was doing and for my lifestyle. I was running a gym and training 3 to 4 hours a day at the time, maybe like 3 hours a day. And so I increased my overall caloric intake. And that was the second big change that made the most dramatic impact on my performance. So I would say that the no grain thing for me was really good for trimming down, and then actually eating enough food was the next big change to help fuel my performance. And that has caused me over the past 4 or 5 years to add about 15 pounds between 2018 and 2023 of just body mass. Some of it is certainly muscle. I mean, I'm sure a good amount of it is muscle mass. Working that long, this hard for that long, but I think my body fat percentage is a little bit higher now than it was then. But what I'm
Hmm.
finding
Right.
when I eat enough food, and by eating enough food, it's not just random. It's that I'm looking for 200 to 220 grams of protein, and then backfilling the rest of my calories up to about 3,400 calories a day with mostly carbohydrates and some fats. But when I'm eating enough, my performance is very solid. I feel it in my training. I feel it in my performance. I feel it in my recovery, even in my sleep. If I am underfed, I notice in my sleep that it's not good. I'll wake up less recovered if I had maybe 500 calories less than I should have the night before. So I rarely am under by that much on my caloric intake. So that was the next big change, is actually paying attention to and realizing I was under eating, and then getting enough food into my system to match my performance goals. So
Right.
yeah, that's my piece of advice. Eat enough food. And so that's one of my phrases that I tell all my nutrition clients is eat all the food. Hashtag eat all the food.
Well, and here you have to find what works, and I know you do this with your clients, is you have to find what is all the food mean for each individual person, athlete, because you and I are both competitors, but I still know that you are far more active in a day than I am,
Yes.
and I'm a few years older. I hear that message, but I also have to be careful with what my intake is versus, the ideal for me is to train twice a day.
Mhm.
Doesn't always happen, and if not, I'm sitting at a desk most of the rest of the day. I'm certainly up and down. I'm an antsy worker, constantly moving around. Love to be active and in motion when I'm out of the office, but there's a good segment of the day where you just kind of have to watch, because of my lack of movement that you might have, what is the right level of food? Because if I eat too much, then that's detrimental to my performance, detrimental to my body composition, how I handle the increase in intake in protein and carbohydrates, and certainly in fat too. And we're all saying this as with general guidelines too.
Yeah.
We're not saying don't ever have the wrong kind of fats or anything like that. Everything in moderation.
Now, this one thing that I've done lately, and you know this now, you've experienced it with me, is that
Hmm.
it's where you eat. And again, I'll reiterate, and I agree with you that it takes a lot of testing in your own skin to find out how your body responds to the food intake that you provide for it. I will say that now, actually, I'm going to throw out a little more well-rounded. So I went from zero grain and under eating to then eating enough with zero grain. I was eating a lot of chicken. I mean, a lot of sweet potatoes, all that kind of stuff, to where now I don't eat a lot of sweet potatoes at all because I sort of overdid it there for a while. So I don't really like them anymore. So now, I am primarily focused on getting enough protein in the day. I backfill with carbohydrates and fats, but I do have some grain in my life again. So on mornings when I'm running a little bit tight on time, believe it or not, I'll have oatmeal. And
All right.
I know.
I
You'll
like that.
you'll love
Yeah.
this.
See, I'm a big oatmeal fan.
It's not just like good old fashioned healthy oats, I will grab one of those packets, the maple and brown sugar or whatever.
Oh,
Yeah,
maple browser.
yeah, it's the best. So I'll have a
Like,
packet of that, and then I'll actually double that serving with regular, regular oats. Heat that up, mix
mhm.
that up. To give me, I really need 2 servings, but I don't need quite that much straight sugar,
All
which
that
is,
sugar.
yeah.
Correct.
So
Correct.
if I'm in a hurry, I have that and yogurt for my breakfast, and not mixed together. That's offensive, but separate. Um, I don't mix those
Well, I was
things.
going to say no. Quaker Oats has made quite a successful product line, fueling America over the years with maple and brown sugar, strawberries and cream, and
Oh,
what else am I missing? Peaches and cream or
peaches and
something like
cream.
that.
Yeah, they've got a spice one, and
So we're not we haven't dropped over yet, but yeah, regular plain oats, even with some honey mixed in or some
oh yeah,
cinnamon or
yeah.
something like that, can taste good. But boy, you open up one of those packages and it takes you back, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
It's so good.
As far as you only go around this world one time.
One time. And so that is I had that this morning for breakfast, as a matter of fact. That'll be a breakfast. And then I do use rice, white rice, jasmine rice, as, and I almost think of it as a carbohydrate supplement, because its nutritional value is slightly better than gummy bears, but not much. So
Yeah.
it is a straight starchy carb, and I do need to hit certain carbohydrate goals every day. So I'll use rice because it's I could get it in. It's easily digestible. It turns right into fuel in my bloodstream to power my training. And if I wasn't training like this, I probably wouldn't rice. It just wouldn't be part of my diet. But it is when I use the word supplement, I think of something that helps me get the nutrients I need, and I think carbohydrate as a macronutrient, the nutrients I need to fuel my lifestyle. So that's where I see white rice, and I have about 4 cups of white rice a day, which is a good amount altogether. And this, I
Hmm.
am a big fan of red meat, a huge fan. In fact, I will have often about 5 nights a week, maybe 6. I will eat a pound of ground beef as my dinner, as part of my dinner with some rice,
Absolutely.
and I love it. It's flavorful. It's tasty. It's 85% lean, grass fed ground beef. It's what I always go with. I'm a creature of habit, and I don't mind being boring, but I found that that is a very nutritious source of protein for me. But then, yeah, on my lunches, and one night a week, I'll have chicken. Chicken gets mixed in there, fish, tuna, just for variety of protein sources. And sometimes it's just easier to heat up some shredded chicken that I have in the fridge than it is to grill a pound of
Yeah,
burgers. But
I
rare,
agree 100%.
yeah.
I will pre-grill or prep a lot of grilled chicken breasts early in the week and just have them in the refrigerator in containers.
Yes.
And so it's not only for myself to grab, but for the family as well. And it's just so easy. I don't think, if you do it right, they don't dry out in the microwave if you're reheating. And pair them with what else you're going to eat, which in my case could be a big bountiful salad full of vegetables. For you, could be rice. But it turns out and it accomplishes what we want. And I do love rice too. I buy a big bag off of Amazon actually of sushi rice, white sushi rice. And it's easy to prepare. It's easy to what you don't use, pop and reheat in the microwave. It's just grab and go. And again, who's not busy? I mean, if you're listening to this, you're probably multitasking right now, doing something else. I mean, so if you can make the right food choices and kind of be predictable, find what works for your level of activity and the body composition that you're looking for, go back to it. There's, as you just said, there's nothing wrong with being boring. If it's smart choices that work for you and you see quantifiable results, keep it up.
Yeah, yeah. If it's
Can't
working,
argue with
don't
that.
change it. How are you a guy that what foods or how much of your meals a week do you make in bulk? What are the things that you make in
Um,
bulk?
Not as much as you would think. It's primarily the protein because I think that takes the longest, whether it's burgers or pork chops or a pork tenderloin, chicken, things like that. It's easier to, I'm a griller by nature. I prefer that method of cooking rather than just putting something in the oven and roasting it. But some of the sides, and again, the other, your carbohydrates primarily. kind of save for the meal of that you're working on. I don't do as much as you would think. So just primarily proteins.
I'm with you on that. I was thinking about that. I asked you the question, and I was thinking back of myself that if I'm cooking red meat, I prefer it fresh. I really like fresh burgers. I like fresh steak.
Hmm.
I could cook a few pounds of chicken in my Instapot pressure cooker, and
Hmm.
that'll last for days. It's amazing. I also cook. A lot of rice. So I'll always have half an Instapot full of rice in the fridge so that rice is very easily accessible. And I was just thinking about the one vegetable that I love and I could have with every meal. There's nothing better than burgers with this vegetable on top. However, it's actually technically
Oh,
not a vegetable. I think
oh boy.
it's a fungus, I think. Is that what mushrooms are? What are mushrooms?
Oh,
Yeah.
oh yeah,
I
I guess.
yeah, I
I
guess
don't
it's
know.
a
I
fungus.
should know.
Um
Yeah,
but I love grilled mushrooms, and using a Blackstone grill, so it's more like a griddle.
sure.
But
Right.
having those on top of fresh grilled mushrooms on top of burgers is just a treat from heaven. And I will say that on Father's Day, my son, as he was driving up to meet with us on Father's Day night, my older son, he's like, he asked my wife like, "Hey, what can I get Dad for Father's Day?" And she asked me, I'm like,
Oh no.
I don't need anything. And I was like, actually, if you will go to Whole Foods and get pretzel buns for our burgers tonight, I will take that as a gift, as a treat. So
There you
a
go.
pretzel bun with a burger is all the calories you'd ever need in one bun. But man, is it good. But all that to say, that I think I want to say that it's okay to take some liberties. I generally don't eat a lot of
Hmm.
grain, but on Father's Day I wanted a pretzel bun, and every once in a while, probably more often than you'd imagine, but I'll have a small bowl of ice cream because it fits in my macros, it
Hmm.
fits in my day, and I need a couple of extra calories to finish off the day. I don't know if
Hey,
you do
but
that.
most importantly, it tastes damn good.
Oh, I mean, come on. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's
I
ice cream.
will,
I mean,
I will,
crazy.
I will literally have a smaller lunch, knowing that I want to have some ice cream after a mega session, a mega training
Yeah,
session.
there you. Well, here it's interesting. You and I train at very different times. I mean, I will train during the middle of the day if the schedule allows. Sometimes later in the day after work, but I'm primarily an early morning trainer. And when I get up, the first thing I do is I'll have a little piece of bread with a little peanut butter on it, and I just need something in my stomach. That's not breakfast by any stretch of the imagination. But when you're headed in, call it 6 a.m. I need to have something in my stomach before I start. And again, that's just something I've learned over the years of doing this. If I was going to say have a regular training session at 9 a.m. on a weekend, I would have breakfast first. But I don't have time early morning to have a full breakfast, have time to digest, and then go work. So again, I need that little piece of bread. I could not start my day without it. And as much as I love peanut butter, I'm not going to just have a spoonful of peanut butter, no bread.
No,
Can't
absolutely
do
not.
that.
And I mean, if I was going to have a treat, one of my favorite treats is peanut butter toast. I mean, I absolutely love peanut butter toast. And if I was a 6 a.m. training person, I'd probably do that. But I'm never ever training at 6
Yeah,
a.m.
no,
ever.
no.
It's never happening.
I like sending you what I've done already by the time you're getting going.
You're done training and I'm literally getting in the ice barrel because I've been up for 6 minutes and you've been done training for
Yeah.
hours. Um, I'm a
But see, we're finding what works for each
yeah,
of us. That's the
absolutely.
beautiful part of it,
I
and what our bodies are accustomed to
yeah.
or need in order to do the work that we're asking them to do.
Very true. Well, I think that was a good chunk of nutrition information. This is what's worked for you. This is what's for me.
Hmm.
Everybody find your own way, find your own path. Track your macros, know where you're at. I think it's always really important to know at least where you're at, and then you can make adjustments along the way. And I don't think you or I count our macros on a daily basis, but I think if we could take some pretty clear guesses about what our general
Correct.
food intake is, our overall caloric intake. Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. And make the good decisions, be flexible, have those overarching themes in mind of
Yep.
what you're trying to achieve.
Yep.
And everybody, as adults, we know the difference between, what we should be eating, maybe what's better for us and what we probably shouldn't be eating. Not saying that you never can eat it,
Right.
because I do, but use that as a template And like you just said, make those decisions what works best for you.
Yep, totally agree. Well, I think it's time for us to jump into our tips of the week, and I'm going to start. I always let you go first. I'll start because I really like your tip. I like your pick, and I'll go first. So
Okay.
two parts to my tip of the week. So one is a tip, one is an announcement. I'm going to just throw that out there because I forgot to bring it up with doing our news section because it's a little bit of news. But my tip of the week is on Toast-A-Bar. Random. I was just thinking about Toast-A-Bar. I did an EMOM on Saturday, and it ended up accumulating up to about 80 Toast-A-Bars. A really fun process. I love working on Toast-A-Bar and high rep sets. But I find a lot of CrossFit athletes try to look up at the bar and watch their toes touch the bar, and they tilt their head back, right? And
Hmm.
I have found in my experience that a much more efficient movement pattern is to keep your head neutral on Toast-A-Bar and look straight ahead the whole time. The bar is always there, and if you've done enough Toast-A-Bar in your life, you're going to touch your toes to that bar every time. It's just automatic. And even if you're new to Toast-A-Bar, you'll find it. You can actually see the bar through your upper peripheral vision. But I found that a neutral head position on Toast-A-Bar tends to create an overall better movement as opposed to, when you're kipping Toast-A-Bar, you've got this sort of, imagine when you bend and unbend a paperclip over and over and over again. I feel like that's what some people are doing with their head on Toast-A-Bar. Their head comes through, they look up at the bar, and it's just flopping around. But I want to recommend that if you're working on your Toast-A-Bar, and maybe you got Toast-A-Bar in your workout tomorrow, try looking straight ahead at the wall or the person or an object directly in front of you and see how that feels on your Toast-A-Bar. It's a fun little tweak that I made this change 3 or 4 years ago, and I've just found that Toast-A-Bar are just slightly easier, slightly more efficient from that. So that's my tip of the week. My announcement of the
Well,
week. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
no, I was going to
Yeah.
say I like that.
Yeah.
Toast-A-Bar are not something that I'm ever afraid of doing, and I don't mind them. But I know they're on the docket for tomorrow morning early, so we'll try to maintain a neutral head position
Neutral
and see
head
how it goes,
position.
and I'll let you know.
Let me know.
Yep,
I anticipate you will text me before I get out of bed. So that'll be great.
probably so. It'll be there waiting for you.
And by the way, Rick is 2 hours ahead of me. Just so the audience knows, there's a 2 hour time difference at this point now. So what we're saying is very fair about this sleep situation.
Exactly. You're darn right.
Now, the announcement I wanted to make, I posted to social media this morning. This is for Masters Games athletes. If you are a Games athlete competing at the CrossFit Games this year and a Masters athlete, my training program, which I'll be releasing in the next few weeks, is called Boulder Athlete. And we are doing a bonus program similar to the Reebok bonus program from years past, where we are paying out a bonus for every event win in every age division for Masters athletes. And look, we don't have the budget of Reebok. We hopefully eventually down the road we'll have that budget, but we are giving a cash prize to every single event winner in the Masters category. So this could be, this could be anywhere from 84, if we have 6 events, about 84 cash prizes to well over 100 if we have 7, 8, 9, 10 events at the CrossFit Games. The budget will be fluctuating based on the amount of events at the Games. But if you win 2 events, you get 2 cash prizes. If you win 3 events, 4 events, 5 events, you'll have to come to the unofficial Masters Athlete After Party, which will just be at a brewery in Madison. I just reserved the brewery today so that we could go there, have an after party, have a beer, enjoy some time together, and pay out some bonuses to Masters athletes that win events at the Games. You do not have to be signed up for the Boulder Athlete Training Program to participate. This is just something we want to do to help support Masters athletes out there. And it's just fun because we're not like writing a check for this. We're not doing a Venmo transfer. I will have cash in hand for the bonuses. So if someone is listening and they want to come and mug me in Madison on that particular day at the particular location, I will be flush with cash. I don't see that happening. I just announced that. Maybe I'll
I
cut this
doubt
out,
it
but
highly. Yeah, I highly doubt it.
but Masters athletes, there is a link. If you head to my Instagram right now, you can see it in my story, or just go to boulderathlete.com. There's a link right there, and you can register. All you have to do is register as a Masters athlete in order to participate in this bonus program. There's no obligations. besides that. You just have to register so that we know that you are actually doing this. So that's fun. It's a fun announcement.
That's excellent. I'll tell you what, you're making it easier than Reebok, which they at least require you to wear their shoes.
Yeah.
So anybody who won the swimming event last year didn't get paid out by Reebok, unfortunately. They held firm on that one.
They held firm.
So,
I would have worn shoes. If they would have,
yeah.
I wear shoes in the pool. It's fine. Anyway, tell us about your pick of the week.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, thank you for the suggestion on that. But mine is my Element weightlifting belt from Element 26. A lot of you might be familiar with that brand. You've probably seen it out on the floor in your gym a little bit more now. It's a self-locking belt. It has that mechanism on the left side that you loop the strap through, and then you adhere to fasten it to the Velcro. I, like probably everybody listening, and certainly yourself, we've all gone through belts, some better than others. Won't name brands or anything like that, but nothing is worse than being at the bottom of a squat and your belt popping, and you're losing that tension at absolutely the wrong time. I found Element from a friend who recommended it to me and have not looked back since. This is my second one it's on. The second one feels even better than the first one that I had. Can't tell the small improvements that they've made, but the lock is there. It's not going anywhere, and I feel even more confident now when I need that belt to stay in place. Jason, you'll have a link for it on the show notes.
Yep.
Again, you'll recognize it. It's solid. They come in standard widths, so you don't have any of the controversy following you around that I think was at some of the semifinals with the larger back support brace. Competition eligible, just a quality product across the board, and won't set you back too much either for them.
Well, I know that I used the standard Velcro belts for a couple of years. I've had a leather belt with the buckle. I've had the Velcro belts, and there is nothing worse than being at the bottom of a heavy squat and having that belt snap open because of the Velcro fails. I mean, it's shocking. And it's borderline dangerous if you're doing one of those 1 rep max, you really are depending on a little bit of that belt support, because when you squat heavy or you're doing a heavy lift, you're pushing against the belt, which is a different type of bracing than if you were beltless. So I am a big fan of the locking mechanism. So I don't think I'll ever go back to a belt that doesn't have that. So I appreciate that recommendation as well. And we stick to the things that work in nutrition. And once we find something like a belt or grips, things that fit us well, man, that's it. Like, problem solved. We're doing that forever.
All you do is buy the same brand over when your current one wears out.
Very true.
As long as they have not changed the manufacturing of it, you find something that works and you stick with it.
Well, Rick, thank you for another fantastic episode. It's always great talking with you. And thank you to our listeners. Thanks for tuning in to the Masters in Motion podcast. If you found this episode to be helpful, we'd be so grateful if you could take a moment to leave us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts or your preferred podcast app. Your support helps us reach more listeners and grow our Masters community. Until next time, get bolder, not older. See ya.